all. This is Prasanna Lohar from DCB Bank. I welcome you all at the third edition of Summit 2022. We have a very good decentralized economy being driven by this technology. Today we have Mr. Colonel Dr. Inderjeet Singh, Chief Cyber Security Officer from Vara. We have Sharat Chandra, who is one of those blockchain influencer working as a Vice President Research and Strategy at EarthId. We have Dr. Lopa Mudraa Basuu, VP ISM Cybersecurity and Technology Controls at JP Morgan Chase and Company. And finally, we have Dr. Pawan Duggal, Advocate, Supreme Court, India. So friends, today we'll talk a lot about blockchain, which is people typically call as a Internet 2.0, which is upcoming, it is becoming a real technology. A lot of companies, banks, healthcare companies, countries are adopting blockchain and relevant ecosystem called digital assets, metaverse, NFTs. So we'll talk a lot about today why blockchain is making a lot of difference, why companies, countries, academia should really adopt blockchain as soon as possible for their customers, for their students, for their business models, operational models, so that in a go right, we can really see very trending business models built on these technologies. I think let's understand what is meant by blockchain, right? What is this decentralization into blockchain? So Sharat, Inderjeet, Dr. Pawan, would you like to highlight what is meant by decentralizing blockchain? Why it is really making change, right? Considering what we have seen in our era of internet, which is based upon web apps, mobile apps, why all of a sudden we are talking of a decentralization? Why it is so important ahead of a centralization? Yeah, we can begin with Dr. Colonel Inderjeet ji.
Thank you very much. Thanks CXO TV for having me here, and thanks Prasanna. It's really a pleasure to meet you and Sharat and Lopa and Dr. Pawan Duggal. Just to begin with, and blockchain is really making a noise for last couple of years, and we are seeing so much of traction which is happening in this area. And primarily, when we say a decentralization in a blockchain, it refers to a transfer of control and decision making from a centralized entity. And that's what we have been talking all these while. We had the internet, where we had the internet, individuals, organizations, groups thereof, to a distributed network, right? And decentralized networks actually strive to reduce the level of trust. That's what we are really working on. And the participants must place in one another, and it deter their ability to exert authority or control over one another in ways that degrades the functionality of the network. And that is what the blockchain has been bringing the power of, right? And what blockchain really does, it's reduce the transaction cost, right? And in the decentralized economy, it can generate distributed trust and empower the decentralized platform, potentially becoming a new foundation for the decentralized business models, right? And that's where we are moving forward to. We are talking about DeFi, which is really, picking up over a period of time. And while in the financial industry, the blockchain allows for the rise of decentralized finance services, which tend to be more decentralized, innovative, interoperable, and borderless and transparent. So we are trying to work it out where we are trying to move from a centralized environment to a decentralized environment. And it's being empowered by the blockchain technology. Decentralized DeFi has a potential to broaden the financial inclusion, facilitate open access, encourage permissionless innovation, create new opportunities for entrepreneurs and the innovators. And the recent development are, it's a kind of empowering the new paradigm centered around decentralized and disintermediation. So that's how we are looking at the decentralized platforms put together. And it will really take off the need for the intermediaries in the financial transaction, and it will facilitate the peer-to-peer transactions through distributed trust, right? And it's really going to increase the scope and efficiency of peer-to-peer transactions, what we are looking at, turning previously infeasible business models into a viable ones, right? That's the power which we bring on table. And while we talk of the financial inclusion, the financial services would become more decentralized, innovative, interoperable, borderless, and transparent. Right. So that's how the decentralized is really going to play up in times to come.
Yeah, I think wonderfully explained, Inderjeet ji, I think about the power of decentralization. What we have seen in the past, the power of monotonous banking, we have seen up and downs in the history of money down there during World War, or rise of a Bitcoin kind of decentralized protocols to send or some exchange some values. I think in my view, this is also becoming reality, and the kind of millennials are looking at, right? The kind of various applications, games, and futuristic organizations are looking at a concept like decentralized autonomous organization. Certainly, so it should be a reality. So in my view, it is becoming reality. A lot of use cases are coming up. So Sharat, let's hear from you. Which are those top use cases or applications around decentralization of any of those economies operations with the help of a blockchain? Over to you.
Thanks, Prasanna. Thanks for having me, and pleasure to be speaking with you. So when it comes to the changing world order, the way the entire world is being polarized, right, and countries have to look after their own interests. So that's where technology becomes an enabler in furthering self-interest. And let me give you one example where we all see that dollar is rising and other currencies are depreciating against dollar. That's why countries are looking at how they can create a currency bridge, or a CBDC, or a central bank digital currency bridge. And if I can quote a recent example where RBI is saying that they'll be settling international cross-border trade in Indian rupees. So imagine a case where a distributed ledger technology is being used to settle cross-border trade transactions. And we all see that most of the central banks are already moving towards adopting wholesale CBDCs, and which have a bigger role to play in removing friction and bringing down costs for cross-border trade. So that's one area where, especially in payments and cross-border commerce, I can see a lot of action already happening as far as blockchain technology is concerned. Now, coming back to the creator economy or the decentralized economy, as we all are moving towards the new version of the internet, Web 3.0, where blockchain has a enabling role to play. It's one of the enabling technologies along with artificial intelligence and 3D and robotics. So that's where a decentralized approach to identity is also needed to enable users to interact seamlessly in a peer-to-peer fashion, as Colonel Inderjeet Singh sir also pointed out. So I think both in terms of commerce in the new era of internet, Web3 economy, as well as metaverse commerce, I can see a lot of potential, and many brands and businesses are already embracing this new technology to reach out to new set of audiences, because the new generation is no longer on the Facebook and Insta of the world. They are in immersive worlds. So to cater to those audiences, companies and brands, and even banks now. So recently, even Union Bank of India, they started their offerings in metaverse, right? And they are beginning with spreading awareness about the products. But as and when we have right regulations in place by RBI, we might see some banking activity happening in the metaverse as well.
Yeah, I think certainly you rightly pointed out, sir, there are a lot of new applications are coming with a blockchain-based kind of a technology. I could see many banks are collaborating for decentralized KYC in India, or how RBI Innovation Hub is driving this momentum by creation of awareness of a blockchain, followed by actual use cases practicing it out with large-scale banks. I'm not sure, but for sure, I think blockchain is going to be reality in the banking industry sooner or later. Use cases like trade finance, domestic letter of credit, or you talk about a marketplace of assets, lending against fixed deposits or lending against any of those assets are with the banks. It will be a new way of or new business models coming in. And for sure, while there are some challenges around cryptocurrency or virtual digital assets, as far as India is concerned, but there are no challenges for blockchain to be get adopted by banking industry, right? What we have seen largely bank chain followed by EPIC or income tax department or IDRBT, NIBM, RBI Innovation Hub, IFSCA. These regulators are openly accepting blockchain technology. So it's a big thing which is coming up, and best thing for us that regulator has understood the power of blockchain, and lot of research, lot of work is happening Indian banking, Indian insurance, or Indian BFSI ecosystem. But there could be another angle to look at from a legal perspective or a law perspective. So let's understand from Dr. Pawan Duggal how it will impact of ongoing legal trends or ongoing law. So let's understand from you. Out here we have Lopa ma'am. Lopa ma'am, what's your view on the economy and how blockchain is going to change the economy? It's being said that by 2030, trillions of dollars will be saved, or a lot of business model like cross-border payment, trade finance are going to be impacted by the blockchain. And we could see how JP Morgan is adopting for cross-border payment. There are some initiatives wherein Indian banks also adopted with that. So what's your view on how economy is going to change or get impacted, rather positively impacted by the blockchain technology?
Very good question, Prasanna. Blockchain technology has emerged as a true game changer. When focusing on blockchain and economic development, the foremost industry that takes the limelight is banking and financial sector. According to World Economic Forum, at least 10% of global GDP is being stored on blockchain platform by end of 2025. So we can actually going to expect a huge transformation. We can also see a successful implementation of blockchain apart from banking industry. Some of the major examples are real estate, retail, healthcare, education, crowdfunding, cryptocurrency, exchanges, and cybersecurity also actually going to use a huge capability of the blockchain. They all have direct or indirect impact on global economy. Early adopter of the blockchain technology is going to, enjoy the benefit, and obviously blockchain is going to be a kind of new era and going to create a new era which is actually have a huge impact on the economy globally.
Yeah, so Inderjeet, I wanted to understand from you, while we are talking a lot of new business models are coming in, what we have seen internet, right? It took 20-25 years for internet to order a pizza or to do a digital payments on a UPI and Google Pay, Phone Pay, we keep on hearing, right? But I want to understand you, is this really reality, right? There are a lot of new business models or new economies are coming in. We used to say creation of a website was a wow factor in early 2000. Today people talk about NFTs. I have a NFTs, or I think is it a really fungible kind of experiment, although it is called as a non-fungible tokens, right? So in my view, tokenization will prevail, right? Tokenization will be there forever, but the kind of investments, kind of a research and a kind of a work is happening in another layer of this world, right, which is a non-fungible, right? You talk about millennials, lot of games, sports clubs, NBA Top Shot. There are companies like Coca-Cola, Vodafone. Quite a lot of people are investing into this phenomena, non-fungible tokens. So would you like to highlight on how real is the non-fungible token? Do you really see there are some kind of a business models around a non-fungible token? Is it really, like if you see the Bitcoin, although Bitcoin, many countries has its own view or India has its own view, but it is one of those top use case of a blockchain. Right. So do you feel that NFT is also one of those use cases like what Bitcoin has done the turnaround?
Right.
NFTs will do that?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting use case, and why it's really catching up over a period of time. While we are talking of the NFT, and at the same time, we are also talking in the same breath the Web 3.0, and also we are talking of the metaverse, right? And what has happened is the NFT becomes synonymous to the metaverse as a token for buying and selling, right? So that's where the NFTs really picked up for, either buying a land, or you're, buying things in metaverse. You want to buy shoes in metaverse, and the complete digital realm that combines the virtual and the augmented reality. That's what is the metaverse. So the currency in the metaverse, it has become the NFT. Though it has come up with a lot of challenges where, in the initial stage itself, there were lots of fake NFTs which came up. Storage of NFTs become a problem. So it's a journey which is, yet to be taken up. We have to really work on how the NFTs are going to take shape in due course of time. Yes, the initial impetus of NFT and taking the NFT to a new level was always there, but as the air is cleared up, we are seeing that it's got its own challenges of NFT, and there are lots of hacks also in the initial part of the NFT. We saw almost 1.7 billion, getting siphoned off from OpenSea in the initial start of the year itself. So while we talk of the Web3, while we talk of the metaverse, NFT is definitely going to be there, because if people are going to be buying any material in metaverse, they would be using the NFT tokens. But like I kind of, given you the challenges along with it, those challenges will definitely be there till the time we come up with some, firm solution.
I think very nicely explained. You spoke about Web3 or metaverse, right? Not sure how far is our journey on a metaverse or Web3, but by now we have seen the power of Web 2.0. The power of Web 2.0 is a lot of new business model came in. Just imagine people are exchanging emails or sending messages on WhatsApp, or sending a lot of information on those FTP protocols or SFTP. I think this was not available before 1985 or so, right? Since the rise of internet, we have seen all of our business models are glued around Web 2.0. So all of a sudden, rather, it is a need of a today's era. We have to really get into the Web 3.0, where it could be combination of a blockchain or a 5G, or maybe immersive interface like artificial intelligence along with augmented virtual reality. And that is how we have seen, right? So those monolithic Yahoo messengers to the WhatsApp, and now people would like to get into virtual experiences, right? And this is what has happened. Any technology comes and really safeguard that innovation. Say example, during feature phones, we were always glued around those web-based chat boxes and emails and so on. While smartphone came in, there were different business models, right? So all of a sudden, when we are around the AR, VR glasses, all of a sudden people would like to see some kind of innovation to entertainment, movies, real estate, retail. Automatically, it will come to the BFSI industry also. So I think you touched upon very, very important aspect, how NFT is one of those business model wherein the right assets, which are part of some of those NFT marketplaces, could be a game changer economy, and certainly we could say billions of the impact we have seen last year. Maybe year onwards, we will see many more other use cases. I will not be surprised. Every industry will come up with their own NFT market, which is not only BFSI, healthcare, real estate followed, and there are a lot of experiments are already happening. In my personal experience, we are working with some of those tokenizing some of those physical real estates, right? So let's see how far adoption will go on. And certainly metaverse is making a lot of noise, right? So I have seen recently some of those universities are creating their metaverse existence, right? Or every physical platform now getting onto their existence on metaverse. Example, HSBC has bought some land into the sandbox metaverse. Like we have some platforms like Windows or Unix, we have now typical platforms for blockchain as well as metaverses, right? So that much investment is happening. So would like to understand from Sharat, why it is all of a sudden, right? We were so happy in 2020 before pandemic, and during pandemic it was a different transformation, and now people are now habitual with the transformation. But this is something big which is coming up, right? And how we should be ready for that. So Sharat, over to you for this. What is Web3 metaverse? How it is going to change, and why it is important for everybody, individual, corporates, country, to be ready for for that. And what EarthId is really primarily doing in this area to really create some kind of a protocol or interoperability standards and so on. Yeah.
Sure. So what happened during COVID was COVID accelerated the pace of digital transformation. It might sound as a cliche, but it's a fact now. And it also gave impetus to people or businesses to adopt digital technology. So that was one of the biggest drivers or catalyst for accelerating the process of digital transformation. So people, they were more open to adopting new technologies, and that's how the entire push towards digitization also happened, right? And so what's happening is people are now breaking away from centralized ecosystems or the monopoly of big techs, and they are more open to a decentralized network approach when it comes to businesses or marketplaces, right? And that's where Web3 and blockchain, because blockchain is the underlying protocol for Web3 stack, right? And similarly, you have identity, and then you have other applications which will be built on top of it. Now, what's more important is, as the discourse around metaverse and Web3 is picking up steam, we need to envision a multi-chain world, because there will not be one blockchain ruling all. There will be multitude of blockchains. So what can actually drive conversation or transactions across multiple chains? And that's where interoperability, standardization, and open standards are very, very important. So what we are doing at EarthId is we joined one of the leading standards forum called Metaverse Standards Forum, where Meta is one of the founding members. Adobe is there, Qualcomm is there. Now we have Tech Mahindra, Infosys Consulting also joining as participating members. So what we are doing is we're trying to come together to build open standards for the metaverse-based ecosystem, right? And which is very much needed. So if you look at the identity piece itself, so now decentralized identity or decentralized identifiers are now classified as a Web3 W3C standard, right? So I think this is one of the building blocks, because in the immersive world, proving your identity or asserting your identity is going to be a challenging one. And accordingly, if we retain the same loopholes what we have in the Web2 era, there will be another set of attacks, impersonation attacks, identity thefts, which I think Colonel Inderjeet Singh sir will also be able to explain better, how the same problems of the Web2 world will also percolate in the metaverse and the immersive world. So that's where a decentralized approach is needed. Interoperability and open standards will not only drive further adoption, but will also make different ecosystems speak to each other. And that's where we'll have a seamless flow of data, commerce across different metaverses, right? Because if you look at a big tech's metaverse, for example, let's say if Microsoft is building its own metaverse, but somebody is building a metaverse on Sandbox, which is completely decentralized. How do we talk to different ecosystems? That's where interoperability, open standards are very much necessary.
I think wonderful. I think, and what's your view? I just wanted your view on this recent collaboration among 40+ companies to form some kind of another standard of is it really need, and do you feel that it has come on a right time to the ecosystem?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the way open source projects have picked up in a big way, and I think the Linux Foundation is a great example, right? Unless and until the community comes together, interoperability or open standards, adoption of these new standards will become difficult, right? And that's where I think it's more like an ecosystem effort. The way the W3C or the Decentralized Identity Foundation was able to push towards making DID as a Web3 standard, right? I think that also tells us about the power of community and the power of ecosystem building. So I think it's very much needed to drive interoperability across different ecosystems.
Yeah, so I will not be surprised the way we at our bank, or we have seen in every bank, we create a lot of platforms, so-called internet banking or mobile banking, or these days we talk about kiosk banking or ATMs and so on. This is all output for a current need of a customer, which is primarily around a traditional digital banking. Tomorrow's intelligent banking, which will be comprised of AI, blockchain, or metaverse, I'm sure corporates or technology companies will be creating another form factor. The way we have internet mobile banking, there will be another form factor, and there will be a lot of new challenges for regulator also. How do we create this banking or a regulated experience onto these things? You spoke about Union Bank, and I can name there are other 3-4 banks will launch metaverse in 1-2 months together. So this becomes another alternate channel, right? To do the but real metaverse, it is a long way. Almost 3 to 5 or maybe 10 years, based upon what type of what degree of virtual reality we want into that experience, right? But certainly retail industry or real estate industry is really taking a lot of efforts to make it, but ultimately it boils down to regulation, security, right? When we are providing any of those things, it's very, very important. So question for Lopa ma'am, how do you see what kind of a security practices we should adopt while we adopt a blockchain or any of those relevant ecosystem? We typically, Inderjeet just spoke about a lot of things that happen, some frauds being happening into that world. How do we learn from banks, or how do we have a best practices to really safeguard ultimately customers should be benefit out of it?
So when it is coming to blockchain technology, basically it produced a tamper-proof ledger for transaction. But blockchain networks are not immune to cyber attack and fraud. Some of the common vulnerabilities and attacks in blockchain technologies are exchange hack, DeFi hack, 51% attack, phishing attack, rock pull, ransomware, SIM swap, investment scam, extortion, DNS attack. So we need to be very careful while implementing the blockchain. In secure implementation of cold and hot storage even get impacted sometime. We even evident the third-party authentication bypass attack. To deal with this emerging attack vector and the nature of work accomplished using the blockchain, it is important to integrate the security and privacy requirement by design, followed by establishing the blockchain-specific governance. Blockchain is an ecosystem, and it's a combination of different networks. So blockchain network security is very critical. On-chain, off-chain, and side-chain data security is also a kind of, very critical angle of blockchain. Blockchain, end of the day, it's an application. So application security needs to be taken care. Smart contract security is important. Now, when we are talking about the blockchain ecosystem, it's extensively using the API to connect between different interfaces. So API security is the paramount requirement when we are considering the blockchain. Above all, one needs to establish a continuous monitoring and assessment process of current state. And it is very important to ensure the blockchain security.
So Inderjeet, what's your view on the security aspect, right? I think we made a couple of 1 week or 1 or 2 weeks back a Chainalysis, which is one of the biggest or best company to do forensics around, or they take care of a lot of data which is happening on the blockchain and the relevant other ecosystem like cryptos and all. But while we are implementing these solutions into the private networks, so-called healthcare, banks, still this technology is yet to be matured, right? So almost the way we do VAPTs for these normal web and mobile applications, we yet to do a lot of maturity into these smart contracts or any of those networks. So there is an always dilemma for blockchain ecosystem could be around security, scalability, and interoperability, people say. And is it really decentralized? So what's your view on the security and regulatory aspects around blockchain ecosystems?
Yeah, so I will pick up the cue from where Sharat was saying about the metaverse economy, and one of the very interesting studies which have come up by Citibank, where they're saying that the metaverse economy is practically going to be around 8 trillion to 13 trillion by 2030, and there will be up to almost 5 billion users. That's really huge, and it could be the next gen internet, and that's what we are looking at, though we really don't know when it's going to really come up. But at the same time, the challenges or the security threats remain with the metaverse, and I will put it as 3 M's. One is the monitoring users, where they actually pick up or track what you do, what you look at, what are your postures, what are your facial expressions, what are your vocal inflections, what are vital signs. Even they can pick up your heart rate, respiration, pupil, galvanic skin response. So they can monitor you to that level now. And that is the data which the augmented reality and the virtual reality component is going to really have it. And then you're going to have the manipulating users, where you can use a deep fake to fake any identity, because you already have the data which you have collected, and you can create any person with a avatar and work it out that way. And then you really work on with the monetizing users, where you are selling the data, right? Using what we have collected with AR, VR devices, because they're going to be multi metaverses, and how each one of them is actually going to store. So we are going to have the identity related thefts, which are really a problem for us. We are going to have the data related thefts, which are there, the privacy related thefts, which are there, your economy related thefts, and we're already seeing, NFT stealings, which are already there. Then also the governance related. Now we are going to have a major challenge. While in the blockchain, we are still struggling with coming up the regulation on a country level. Now we are going to have a metaverse, and there are going to be multi metaverse across the globe. How are we really going to work it out? So these are the kind of challenges which we see, and it's really a point of concern as to how we are going to manage the new type of metaverse data. What are the privacy issues? What are the data handling issues? What are the impersonation issues? What are the avatar authentication methods, right? Because you want the avatar to be used along the interoperability part to the other metaverse as well, right? So that identity transportation is going to be a bigger challenge, and the trust between the different metaverses is, again, we are going to see that way. So huge kind of a landscape of threats which is coming up along with the metaverse which is there. And one thing which we had to really think of, the metacorps, how we are really going to train them, because we are right now having the concept of the cyber corps to catch the cyber criminals, right? And the other thing is the meta laws. What are the laws going to be defining the people committing the crime in the metaverse? And we've already seen rape happening in the metaverse. There's a groping happening in the metaverse, molestation kind of happening in the metaverse. So identity theft, the credential theft, ransomware. So huge kind of cyber threats are part of the metaverse, which is going to come up.
Yeah, wonderful. I think the way I am hearing you, Colonel Inderjeet, I think you are sitting on full of knowledge, right? How ecosystem is adopting blockchain, but how they should adopt. Yeah. So, Lopa ma'am, you spoke about how blockchain is impacting the economy. You spoke about how JP Morgan is really working around blockchain technology and so on. Would you like to understand from you that DeFi, right, which are those companies, decentralized finance companies, which has given some kind of a challenge. Rather, these companies has a lot of a market cap now, over 150 billion. But the way we have seen last 3 to 4 weeks, the market game, right? So I think there is a lot to do around DeFi, although a lot of a challenging situation they have faced. But the opportunity is what blockchain brings on, and with the right regulation on a blockchain, we can have a better DeFi companies rather than we can have a CeFi companies following blockchain. So what's your view on DeFi companies? What's your advice for the customer who are availing these DeFi services, right? Considering the frauds, considering the need of a regulation for any of those business models. Yeah, you may want to add your inputs.
So when we look at the decentralized finance or DeFi, it has been a hot topic in crypto space for some time and a real game changer in the financial sector. Decentralized finance harnesses the power of blockchain and combined with crypto, smart contract, and internet technologies has demonstrated to the world that it does have substantial benefit to offer. It's immutable, accessible to everyone, permissionless, and interpretable. Because it rely on the blockchain technology, decentralized is more and more transparent, efficient, and mainly secure alternative to the traditional financial service, with reduced risks of fraudulent activities, corruption, and even insufficient management of user asset. It's eliminate the involvement of intermediaries, thereby creating an inclusive and reliable financial system where people need to pay very less service charges because there are a kind of very minimal intermediaries or lack of intermediaries. Now, coming to the regulatory part, when you have wealth, there is a requirement to protect it and govern it by the regulator. And it's a mandatory requirement to make this alternative trustworthy. But the challenge is this particular system currently connecting the different geography, not like earlier how you have a geographical boundaries and governed by the different regulator. But yes, the regulation is very much important. This is an emerging field, and I believe regulators are also working on this area, and we can see the improvement in this sector. And in future, we can see the match with this maturity of the technology. We can see the effective regulation, stringent regulation. But yes, most important, I feel the KYC process is most important in this area, because that is one of the basic requirements when we are dealing with the wealth. And obviously, to make it alternative from traditional method of trading, it is very important that it needs to be regulated.
Yeah, Inderjeet ji, you want to add any inputs around the same questions where DeFi, there are around 200, 300 companies globally, worldwide. I have seen the traction from 2 billion to 150 plus billion, right? And all of a sudden it is coming down, right? So I think what we have seen in a banking ecosystem is a very good, robust ecosystem with a lot of compliance, security. Every pie money given by a customer to the banks is safeguarded with a lot of norms, right? So what's your view on the future of DeFis? Do they have to learn a lot of things before now coming again back to the customers?
Yeah, definitely DeFi is really disrupting the market. And some of the fintech verticals which are disrupted by the DeFi, that is a decentralized lending platform, or the decentralized exchanges or border transactions, asset management, insurance sector, token issuance, banked, unbanked, and underbanked, and decentralized exchanges. So DeFi is here to stay, but definitely, it's really a kind of a challenge at hand to make it more streamlined, because we have the DeFi platform, but the processes which we need to work it out so that it's accessible to everyone with internet, and it can offer the benefit of peer-to-peer network, what we really looking at, with no government control, highly cost-effective for its user, and give the speed, efficiency, and security for the heavy encryption and the transparency which we are looking at. So net DeFi will be defining, and the future is actually going to be much more robust. We are going to have a kind of potential to completely reinvent the world's financial system with the DeFi, right? And in metaverse also, the DeFi is really going to play a major role along with the NFT. So DeFi is definitely going to stay here, and there's going to be merging the scale and familiarity of the traditional economy with the security. So we are going to see that way. That's going to be a very interesting space for the next couple of months and year.
Yeah, wonderful. And such a beautiful guidance, Colonel Inderjeet. So, friends, we had a lot of great insights from Sharat Chandra, Dr. Colonel Inderjeet Singh, Lopa ma'am. And so, any last thoughts? All of you all experts, I think all viewers are blessed with such a great guidance on blockchain and various other concepts in a short span, right? So let's begin with Lopa ma'am, your thoughts, please.
Blockchain will have a very positive impact on digital business, and it will dramatically reduce the cost of transaction and information flow with increased security and trustability. It will be leveraged for, or it's going to be leveraged for a majority of the world trade. In the future blockchain era, $1 trillion token will play a major role.
Yeah, Colonel Inderjeet Singh, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, so interestingly, while we were talking of the metaverse, and I brought out about the security challenges which are there, and the global economy which is going to change. So the reality is metaverse will happen and will transform the society over the next 10 years or so, maybe because it may get telescoped before also, but next 10 years, we are likely to see that. But the problems will be similar or the worse than today's social media. So we need to have the right kind of regulations, right kind of laws, like right kind of security postures to be safe in the metaverse. And that also goes for the NFTs and the DeFi and the transactions and the decentralized exchanges as well.
Yeah, I think wonderful talks. So I think in my view, blockchain is a reality. It's not something like which is still under experimentations. What we have seen on the internet way back in 1995, blockchain could be in that era, but the kind of a research, the adoption of a pace not only by corporate but by the countries, like for example China, Estonia, Dubai, Australia, they have a special blockchain units to really have a governance based use cases. In Indian context also, Maharashtra government, Tamil Nadu government, Telangana, you talk about largely Uttar Pradesh government, everybody is really looking at the blockchain as a game changer into their business models. So this is going to be there, and even many academias, many universities now adopting blockchain as a specialized course. Not only blockchain, but metaverse, Web3 is now becoming a new buzzwords, rather real words. Company like Meta, that is Facebook, Microsoft, IBM's, you talk about Amazon, everybody is really looking at kind of a new business unit, business models, lot of skill sets, hiring, lot of new things are coming. The way we have seen, internet has penetrated in every business model. So blockchain is a kind of a foundational technology. Slowly it will evolve and will change the way we operate. And the change is good. The change is good in the sense it's going to be very trustworthy, very transparent, and we'll have a lot many other challenges while we land up in a blockchain era, right? So I think look forward how a country like India also will adopt. So blockchain as a technology for healthcare, banking, governance, central bank digital currency, which is one of the experiments we are doing at India. We will have to learn a lot many things from other countries while we adopt a lot of business models. So blockchain still have dilemma like scalability, security, but for sure the way we have seen a new internet, similarly we'll see a lot of research areas, research work will happen, and the blockchain ecosystem will be much more mature than yesterday for tomorrow's world. So thank you so much, CXO TV, for bringing this session on blockchain and the decentralized economy at its third edition of the CXO Tech Summit 2022. Look forward for further more collaborations at this event. Thank you so much.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.